What is self-esteem? What value does it hold in our lives? Where does it come from? How can we adjust it? And why does it have such a significant impact on our self-confidence, identities, and everything else that we do in our lives? Today, I want to talk about the topic of self-esteem and how we have so much potential that sits within us without recognition because of the way we perceive ourselves. Self-esteem is the value that you put on yourself, the way you see yourself, the identity, the thoughts, and the feelings that define who you are according to your own perception. So the emphasis here is on the self. These are all narratives and thoughts and feelings and emotions that come from within and therefore impact on who you think you are in terms of abilities and worth, and therefore what kind of challenges you go for, what kind of relationships and friendships and employments you go for. And therefore, for us to be able to adjust this, we need to come back inside, look within, and ask ourselves those tough questions of who we think we are so that we can be able to then step into those other roles that we dream of but don't see ourselves as capable of attaining. Now, there are two really valuable quotes by Eleanor Roosevelt, which I think reflect perfectly into this topic. The first one is that nobody can make you inferior without your consent. It basically means that for anyone to insult you or to dismiss you or to minimize you to a level which is acceptable, you have to take that from them and own it for it to become real in your life. The second quote from her is that the strength of a woman, or that every woman has significant power within them like a tea bag, which is not visible or known until they are put into hot waters. So once you place a tea bag into hot water, its strength will manifest to you. And so does the strength of a woman. But I truly believe that this is valuable for every human being who walks the earth. Man, woman, child. Everyone has that hidden strength. And I want to use this topic of self-esteem to work with you to tap into yours and bring it to the surface so that you can use it more often than those hot water moments that we find ourselves in. Welcome to Clear Minds and Self-Healing. My name is Asoh and I appreciate my returning subscribers. I have put together some simple and amazing self-esteem cultivating strategies that I want to share with you today. Some of them I've pulled out of my practice as a social worker. Others I've learned on my own journey of self-growth. But the other half of these have come from a book by Matthew McKay, the details of which are here in the description of this video. If you want to really look deeper into this topic, there's only that much a few minutes video can cover. Now, the first thing that you have to bear in mind when trying to improve your self-esteem is the ability to self-assess. Complete a self-assessment on yourself and really create that clarity on what your definitions of yourself are and how realistic those are. The importance is to get you to start seeing you from a different perspective. So start by putting 5 characteristics that you think define your current circumstances, who you are. Are you an achiever? Do you scare? Do you overcome? Are you caring, loving? Put 5 of the dominant ones that define you now and put 5 of the dominant characteristics of an ideal self that you aim to attain. Who would your best self be if wishes were horses? Put those 5 characteristics. And once you've named 5 on noun and 5 on ideal, perfectionist, or idealistic, you now have to moderate and bring those two extremes closer to a middle gap. If, for instance, my current self is that I'm okay, I will try and ask myself, what does okay mean? And see if I can bring okay higher, because generally we put ourselves lower than where we are actually. This is called motivational interviewing. When you ask a friend what they are great at and they say nothing, but you know they are great at something, so you keep prompting, really? Who cooks at home? I do. I can actually do a wicked pie. Oh, there you go. What kind of pie do you cook? How do you do it? I've taught a few friends how to do pie, and they start to connect with their strengths and to elevate themselves slowly towards that ideal person that they seek to become. The second thing you need to do is look at those ideal characteristics and bring them slowly down to normal human expectation level so that they can become achievable and attainable. Then you can start to see yourself as capable of fitting that role. When you've narrowed that gap, you then have to make a plan of action that you can follow. You need to be able to sit down with yourself and have a very calm and very effective conversation with your bossy voices in your head. Those self-critical thoughts that control you, that minimize your qualities and elevate your weaknesses. You have to start challenging those voices and talking back to them and dictating the things that you know you're great at, and owning the fact that even your mistakes do not minimize you. And therefore, by accepting that life has mistakes, that it's part of a human consequence, you're giving yourself permission to live and to make those mistakes and still elevate the value of your life. A lot of us are diminished by our shortcomings and mistakes, and even more so by those that we inherited from our forefathers and our parents. You grow up with a diminished identity that you're hiding from just by the stories you heard of people you've never even met. But if we accept that life is going to be full of those mistakes and that we are not the only ones making them, you will give yourself permission and let go of all those limitations that you lay on yourself because of everything that you've experienced that you see as diminishing. The other thing that you have to really tune into to be able to change your self-esteem is limiting your core beliefs. And those are the things that dictate everything that we've talked about. What are your beliefs around health? Do your health conditions embarrass you? Do you have any control over those? What are your beliefs around relationship? Do you break down and hide when you have a breakup or a divorce? Was that your fault? And even if that was your fault, so what? What are your core values around money, around religion? And when you start to break all of those down and define how you feel about every single one of those aspects, you will start to see that your reaction to everything is based on your own internal feelings around those things. Now, being able to accept criticism and challenge by others is triggered by our own internal feelings of self. When some people bring well meaningful advice, it triggers our own insecurities and we attack or we respond in ways that does not befit the reasons why they came to you to challenge. And even if they're being petty and negative about their criticism, it is still your own internal sense of worth that responds. So being able to really recognize those things will elevate you to a place where you're able to take that criticism and appreciate it and deconstruct it and take what is valuable to you and dismiss the rest of it. So, what we've gathered here today is that self esteem is an internal creation. Your mindset, your identity, your language, every value that you place on yourself, and that is lying there consciously or unconsciously, like the tea bag that is quoted by Eleanor Roosevelt, is living in your life because you've placed it there. And when someone comes knocking on your door, when that hot water issue arises, it's either going to wake up a sleeping beauty or a beast that lives in you, that we want you to recognize at the moment before the issues arise. When you plant positive thoughts, no amount of negativity can define who you are. It will upset you, but you have the ability to evaluate and dismiss those accordingly because you know what your core values are. When you don't understand those values, that is where the problem sits. So start with being able to ask for help, being able to differentiate between your needs and your wants, and understand that the needs are essential and therefore take priority, but the wants are those that are idealistic and futuristic and they can wait. Put the wants into your planning towards your goals, towards the future goals, towards the improvement, and take care of the needs now. Appreciate yourself more, celebrate life more. If you minimize what deserves a celebration, you end up celebrating once a year or once a decade because you've set the expectation for things that you need to achieve to celebrate too high. But if getting through every day and accomplishing simple tasks deserves a praise or celebration, you will end up with happier and bigger celebrations purely by appreciating yourself that much more. Please share this to motivate, empower, and add some spice in everyone in your life's tea bag.